Good evening and welcome on a Tuesday night to Loud and Nerdy on the Indie Escape Network, fastest growing network in podcasting. Thank you for joining us. My name is JW Colwell. I am joined, as always, by my good friends on a Tuesday night, Kyle Defina, and of
Why don't
course,
you go to bed?
Jerry Kamora.
So this AI can rub herself off.
That's right.
Why don't you go to bed?
Turn that
this AI
damn
can rub
thing
herself
off.
off.
And Jerry Kamora, Slapjaw.
R2D2.
Welcome
That's
on a
right, too.
Tuesday night. How's everything going? How are you gentlemen doing? How was your Easter? Was it everything you were hoping it to be and more?
And more.
Good evening. Yes,
Easter
we're
was
very
okay.
on time tonight, Joe. There's a reason we're super on time tonight. Do you know what the reason is, Joe? Can anybody guess why I would want to be on time and have the show wrapped in a neat, organized bow in an hour tonight?
You're trying to set a standard.
Yes, that's true. I am trying to set a standard, but I'm also Andor season 2 premieres 2 minutes ago. I got 3 hours after this show ends tonight, because the way they're gonna run is Andor season 2, which it's really kind of cool, Kyle. I'm curious what you think of this. The way they're gonna run this. So the way it runs is that tonight there'll be 3 episodes, first 3 of season 2. April 29th will be episodes 4, 5, and 6. May 6th will be episodes 7, 8, 9. And then May 13th will be episodes 10, 11, 12. So basically what we're getting is for the
You
next...
missed a huge opportunity.
What huge opportunity. For the next 4 weeks, we get... Apparently the way it's being set up is that we are getting essentially a 3-hour Star Wars film every week for the next 4 weeks. What huge opportunity does that?
Why would you wait until May the 6th when you got May the 4th right there? Why not drop it 2 days earlier?
They're not gonna. Well, maybe they will, but I don't think they will. There's no reason to. May the 4th, it generates its own excitement, and then people will be talking about this anyway. Because if you're asking, because Jay wants to, not just because he wants to watch a show and fuck other people's shows. Exactly, that's true, Raven. Good call. But yeah, I'm super excited. I don't look, if we're talking about how you make a professional Star Wars show relevant and in the moment and bring Star Wars ahead, Andor is the way we're gonna go. It would have been good marketing, but nobody, like, I don't know. The show is getting such rave reviews.
What?
Well, I don't. It's a good. What? That Raven agreed with you? Yes. Congratulations.
No, but you're like,
I think it's good marketing, but I don't think that you change. You know. Oh, I didn't get the sarcasm. Oh, okay. No, I didn't. I choose that. I agree, Raven. Thank you so much. I mean, of course, I got the sarcasm. But yeah. So Andor premieres tonight. Let's talk a little bit about the show that's not going to be on Disney Plus tonight. Kyle, are you caught up with this?
I'm 2 episodes behind.
Okay. We won't get into it until next week when everybody can get a full, clear picture of this season. But what I would like to do is at some point, I would like to have people that always do the sky is falling, Marvel's ending. Oh my God, how could this happen? I want to talk to you people, but also I know, Jerry, you saw Captain America and you weren't impressed.
No, I mean, thank God for Harrison Ford, but I tried, but it seemed like it was very dull to me.
Okay,
like nobody was excited to be in it. Kind of,
I tend to think it's one of the lower ranked Marvels, right? But the idea, my take on this whole thing is the idea that somehow Marvel is dead is crazy. It's insane, don't you, Kyle? We have a mutual friend who used to be on the show on a regular basis, and he is constantly sky is falling. He will send me messages.
Still?
still, he sends me messages about like, oh God, Captain America was terrible, or
I mean,
I hated the Marvels, or
honestly, like
I can't believe
I
they
want
didn't
to
have.
see the Hulk the way Harrison did the Hulk. I want to see the regular Hulk like that. Like, where
Yeah.
did that Hulk go?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like the idea that we're never going to get that Hulk again
Because it was brutal.
is
Like,
perplexing. Yeah, I mean, we might get him.
we
I
need
don't know.
brutal Hulk back.
We need brutal. Yes. Well, he's been gone since the first fight in Endgame, right? He's been gone since
Yeah.
Thanos took him apart. Like the fun, cool Hulk. Anyway, but for anybody who thinks that Marvel is dead, you need only watch the first season of Daredevil. It's just it's brutal. It's amazing. The Punisher shows up. Punisher was incredible. John Barenthal playing the Punisher is pretty great. Frank Castle. But it's a good show. Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin he's quite possibly my favorite Marvel villain right now. Like I don't know what's gonna happen with Victor Von Doom. I don't know what's gonna happen with any of the other villains we're getting on all these, Galactus or any of the other villains we're getting. Century or the Void, depending on how you want to look at it, in a couple weeks with Thunderbolts. But right now, Vincent D'Onofrio, the nuanced portrayal of a vicious murderer is pretty spectacular. What else? What else can we talk about? I wanna ask you guys a question because this is an interesting thing we were talking about, right? We've been talking about it for a couple weeks, but Sinners opened this week, and this is a movie that you've seen, kind of.
I saw it. I saw it opening night on Thursday, same night as you.
Okay.
And me and you were on polar opposites almost, where I loved the first hour of the movie.
Sure.
And I felt in the second hour it slowed down a little bit too much for me. Okay. Where I think you're just the opposite feeling, where the second hour is where it picked up for you.
Oh no, I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I was mesmerized by the entire movie. I would agree with you that I would like to see a Ryan Coogler movie that deals with, turn of the century kind of like stylized crime, because that first hour is amazing. Setting up the juke joint, the Smokestack brothers getting back to the Mississippi Delta, touching base with everybody in town. The idea of the town having both stores are owned by the same Asian people, but one store is for the colored side of the street and the other side is for the white side of the street. That was a mesmerizing. The first hour is fantastic.
That's one of my comments to JW2 Ken was I think it could have been trimmed by 20 minutes at least. There were some parts that were a little long.
It's the best movie of the year, and I can understand like
the whole first half of Braveheart.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Sinners gave me From Dusk Till Dawn. It's way better than From Dusk Till Dawn. Like it's got a lot more going on. Dusk Till Dawn. I'll give you examples. Like if you're talking about trimming 20, 30 minutes, right? Are you going to trim the dance hall sequence? Are you going to trim where are you going to trim would be my question when you get to the second hour. And my take on that is that it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, Jared. Do you remember a time when we used to look at movies that were like 2 hours and 7 minutes and go, that's right about the sweet spot? Like that's you know what I mean? Like to get enough things going, to have enough layered stuff. I think it's just a brilliant movie. And we could try to cut it here or there.
The last 8 minutes, though, once the credits start to roll, that's some real fun viewing.
The two cut sequences, the one cut sequence all the way after the credits, not nearly as important as the main cut sequence after the first set of credits. What was the future thing in the dance hall? Okay. I don't.
This is gotta wait till next week.
Yeah, this is a spoiler thing, Ken. I would love to explain it, But what I would say is one of the reasons the vampires search out Preacher Boy. I'm trying to keep it for people who've seen the movie. One of the reasons the vampire searches out Preacher Boy is because his music transcends space and time. Would you agree with that, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
So one of the reasons that the vampire searches him out is because Preacher Boy, yeah, we can talk about that in a moment. It transcends space and time, and so the dance hall sequence is an illusion that all of those different elements are in every bit of music we listen to. It's actually one of the coolest sequences in the movie. And if it has a component piece sequence that's outside, Ken, the other dance sequence where everybody is following the exact same rigid rules set up by one person. Does that help a little bit? I hope it helps. There's so
now
much.
I knew there was only a 1% chance, but I had to watch the credits because the character Cornbread, I thought that
Yes.
was almost could have been played by Forrest Whitaker with the age-defying CGI technology
Oh
that they
no,
used. 'Cause
that's
he
kid from
looked,
the kid that kid is from he was on the Ballers HBO show.
yeah,
He was one of the football players on the
he really looked like a young Forrest Whitaker.
yeah but every um other reasons to really love the movie. I love again I agree with you. I think the first hour is mesmerizing. Second hour, I love the vampire lore of it. And one of the things that as somebody who sees a lot of horror films, Jerry and I have seen a ton of horror films in our life. When you get a film that so invigorates and just jumps into the vampire lore, where they're figuring it out, the audience is figuring it out, and it's well, is that going to work? Does that work? What about this? What do we need here? What are the rules? And it's a real interesting. He was on one of the CSI shows. He was also on Ballers. But yeah, but everybody, the Woomy Muskow, the girl, the voodoo priestess kind of woman, she was also on Loki, and she was in Deadpool and Wolverine as one of the time agents. So she's really good. Everybody in the movie is really good. Haley Steinfeld's really good. Michael B. Jordan deserves all kinds of kudos because he is. When people say, "Oh, we don't have any movie stars anymore," he's a legit movie star. He's got it in spades. They do well. He is amazing to watch. He's incredible to watch. And both of the characters are completely different characters. A lot of trickery with regards to, shooting two guys in the same person in the same scene, but it is flawless. Cinematography is flawless. Um, Music is cool. It gives me all kinds of vibes. I think we're gonna get to the end of the year, and Sinners with these two guys, with this guy playing two different roles, and this a very steamy movie as well. Would you say, Kyle? Like steamy without a lot of gratuitous nudity, but still steamy. This is Haley Stanfield. The vampires tend to get very bloody around the mouth, and also flaming red eyes. Um, there is also a nice sequence with the clan. There's a couple sequences with the clan, and this image of Michael B. Jordan with a Tommy gun is just. I don't know. I couldn't get enough of the movie. I do think though that Ryan Coogler is now a made man, and one of the things that's interesting about this film deal, right? That we should talk about on our show is, did you guys hear about this? A couple things. He gets money. He gets percentage of the gross points before Warner Brothers budget is paid back, because Warner Brothers is a little bit desperate right now because of what happened during COVID and how they released the Kong movie, how they released, how they threatened to release Christopher Nolan's movie and they lost Christopher Nolan to Universal. And so they're a little bit desperate to get directors in and people that are talented. So they signed up where he gets percentage gross points now. So before it becomes profitable for Warner Brothers, which is a big deal. And then the big part of his deal, and this is amazing because, again, this is from old-timey Hollywood stuff. In 25 years, Sinners reverts back to him. So Warner Brothers will no longer own the movie. It will go to him, and he will own all the rights, which is something that was very prevalent, in the 50s, 60s, 70s. John Ford, David Lean, Alfred Hitchcock kind of owned their stuff, before the pieces got sold off. You know what I mean? So it's a very big deal for a director to get this deal. And then, so it had a big weekend as well. Shocking at the box office. It shocked Minecraft. And it grossed another $7 million on Monday, which is incredibly high for an R-rated movie on a weekday in non-summer months. So it's at $55 million right now. Minecraft is up to $349 domestic, and it is at $372 international. So it's at about $810 million right now, which is not something I saw coming at all. Like, it didn't look good, and then all of a sudden it just caught on. Happens.
Kids are a moneymaker.
Damn kids. But Sinners is already at 71 million worldwide. It was made for about 90 million. So it's got a ways to go before profitability, but that brings up another interesting story that happened this week. Variety put up a story where basically they were insulting. They weren't insulting, but like when Sinners won at the box office this weekend, Variety put up the headline, and this was the headline that got them in a lot of hot water. I try to bring it up. So, this movie has great entrance, has great critic reviews. It has a rare, and listen to this, Jerry, another thing it's done. It is the only horror film in the history of CinemaScore, which is like the tracking service of people coming out of a movie. It's the only horror film in the history of CinemaScore to get an A. Most horror films, average horror films, get Bs. B is a great grade for a horror film, right?
I didn't find it to be a horror film, though.
You don't think it's a horror film?
No. It's got like the vampire-esque, but just...
You don't feel it's a horror film the last 40 minutes or a horror film? It's definitely a horror film. Like,
it doesn't have that feel, though.
No, it feels epic. It feels...
It kind of tricks you that it's a horror film. Kind of like...
Yeah, it's a trick.
If anyone ever watched Yellow Jackets, like you start watching the first season, and it's not until about 3/4 of the way through the first season you realize it's more of a
psychological thing. Crazy.
Yeah, where this one almost feels like a...
But
you're on a trip through history.
Vampires in it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think
you almost feel like you're on a lesson through the history lesson through the first hour 15, and then it just changes rails.
It changes. It shifts genre. But it's a horror film
that's what Dusk Till Dawn does.
Yeah, it's a horror film that transcends genre. This one it's about bigger things. But what happened was Variety wrote a very terrible headline. This was on the Variety page. Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film. Yet the Warner Brothers release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses. So profitability remains a ways away. So let's piece together that. It is a $90 million horror film. It is an original R-rated horror film that beat a kids movie on Easter weekend And the first thing Variety says is, it's great. That's cool. But, I mean, it might not be profitable. And so what happened was Ben Stiller saw the headline, and his response on social media was, in what universe does a $60 million opening for an original studio R-rated movie warrant this headline? And what I think it ties to for us is that we've been discussing the concept of, do we want original or do we not want original? And how sometimes the original gets mashed into pieces. Here's an original R-rated horror film that is a tough sell on Easter weekend that found its way because it's great and because people wanted to see it and because it was marketed well. And the interesting thing here is the headline from Variety makes it sound like it's lucky. Lucky. It might not be profitable.
I don't think it was a hard sell on Easter weekend. A lot of people found God in the movie.
Well, yeah, a lot of people found a god or many or fire and brimstone, so to speak.
Fire bad.
Fire bad. Sunlight bad. But I just think it's interesting. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a reprieve here. I believe in the chicken and the egg theory of what Hollywood does, but in this particular case, this is a prime example of the press that covers movies not shouting from the rooftops when something is an original success, right? So it dampens the success rate of this movie just a little bit by being kind of dickish. Like they're a little bit, you know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing when you do all the things that this movie has done and you look up and you go, well, I get it's not that successful. And you're like, fuck, really? R-rated vampire flick with a mostly African American cast on Easter weekend.
Horror movies get a bad rap no matter what. It is what it is.
No, but
I get it. But they do like
it's such an but Jerry, the thing is, Variety knew before they wrote this article, before they wrote this headline, that it had the A cinema score, the only A cinema score for a horror film in the history of cinema score. And just so we're clear, and so everybody understands, cinema score came out well after many of the classics that you and I have grown up with, or anybody watching the show has grown up with. So, like, Cinema Score wasn't around when Halloween came out or The Exorcist. Cinema Score is like in the last 20 years, right? But like a movie like Get Out, or a movie like, I'm trying to think of movies that have captured a massive audience. Get Out,
Hereditary was probably
Hereditary,
maybe The Conjuring,
A Quiet Place, The Conjuring. They all struggled to get B pluses or A minuses. So for this movie to get an A from every audience that saw it, it is very hard to get A's from Cinema Score. I think there were like 5 movies last year that had a perfect Cinema Score. That had a Cinema Score for 2024. You know what I mean? So and horror films are really tough to get.
They get like 4.5 Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Well, and horror
10.
Horror films are wild. So like, I'll get in an example. Let's pick a movie from last year that it was pretty beloved. Everybody kind of loved it. Give me a movie, any movie. Kyle, you give me a movie that everybody kind of loved last year. How about Wicked?
Deadpool. Was that last year?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, wait. I did Wicked. Hold on.
Okay, what's the Wicked?
Or Beetlejuice 2.
Beetlejuice. Hold on. Where did it go? Why is it not there? Motherfucker.
Or the Planet of the Apes movie.
The Planet of the Apes movie. Hold on. Okay. Well, how about this? Well, let's do like a movie that's kind of like smart. Civil War, right? That was a movie that came out last year that everybody kind of thought was pretty compelling. Had a good 83% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. It got a
The
B
Texas and
minus.
California
Yeah,
separate from the rest of the states.
they fight,
Okay.
but it got a
I
B
just, I
minus.
just don't want anyone to get confused with the Civil War of Marvel, like that, which was a
Marvel
couple of
Civil
years
War.
ago. But
That
you
was
just
like
don't want to get
years
confused.
ago.
It was, yeah, but still, people don't realize how fast time goes.
Okay, hold on.
John Cena
How about,
has a bald spot now.
yes, he does, and he's a heel. He's a heel among heels. Let's do. I have it up now. Give me 1 second. Let's do recently. How about
He
recently
looks like Jim Varney now.
movies that were pretty good. Let's see. Um, Hard Eyes, pretty good horror film. Did pretty well. B minus cinema score. Let's see.
What was Wicked?
Hold on. Wicked cinema score. I spelled Wicked wrong. Hold on. Won't bring it up. Why want to bring it up?
Wow, that's North Pocono proud right there.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying. I'm trying, my friend.
So, so Wolverine versus Deadpool is definitely how Jerry of Wicked got spelled wrong.
I think you might have to log in. Wait, hold on. I might have to log in. It just has recent releases up. So Sinners is an A. Alto Knights was B. Amateur was B plus. Brave New World, which we just talked about, was B minus. Companion was B plus.
Beekeeper.
How about a Working Man? Working Man was a B.
I just saw that.
That's a recent one.
It's the Beekeeper, but
Novocaine was a B. Minecraft was a
different
B
job.
plus. Mickey 17 was a B. Drop was a B. Dogman was an A. So the only other A, actually, Rule Breakers was also an A, and Paddington and Peru was an A. So those are the only A's thus far in 2025. So it's an interesting thing, but I think the interesting thing that Variety made such a big fuss and got called out on it is a good thing for Hollywood, right? Because this kid, Coogler, is a great young director, and it's just, I don't know. I really enjoyed the movie. Anyway, Sinister is a pretty good movie. I like Sinister. I'm also a big fan of Malignant. That movie I think is as the best, one of the better.
Or what was the other one? Barbarian?
Barbarian's great. Speaking of trailers, have you guys
Smile.
seen the trailer for the new you were saying Barbarian? Perfect. Zach Kreger has a new movie coming out. He's the man who directed Barbarian. It is about a class of children that all leave their house at 2:17 a.m. on a particular day, and they all disappear. And it's one class from a local elementary school. And it's got a great cast. Julia Garner's in it. The trailer is mesmerizing. Along with it's basically set up as like a real life story, like a little bit of Blair Witchish. It has a whole like fake website set up that basically has a bunch of kids running out of their house, and it's all like kind of Ring doorbell cams of the kids running down the street with the same like spread out arms like they're airplanes. And it when you go and check it out, it hooks you up with a website that is basically it's basically a newspaper. And people have been coming out of this movie and saying that it's batshit insane, just crazy. The cast, ready? The cast is
What's
Josh
the
Brolin.
movie?
It's called Weapons.
Weapons.
Weapons. It's got Josh Brolin, Julie Garner, Aiden Eichenreich, Benedict Wong, Amy Madigan, Austin Abrams, Carrie Christopher, June Don, Raphael, Toby Huss, and more. And it basically, the trailer takes you to this weird website that has all kinds of. It also has a news story about the house in Barbarian. So it's this incredible, like, just, you know, news site that's basically set up for Zach Kreger's movies. And it starts at 2:17 a.m. is when the trailer starts, and it's just a weird little, very effective, highly effective trailer. And as speaking of highly effective trailer, because I think Raven had talked about it, new Fantastic Four trailers out. We put it up on in the group, the nerdy group. It is. I think they got it right. I think everything about it's right. I think the thing is right, although we're going to fight about it right up until the movie comes out. But the thing running through a bunch of buildings to knock it onto Galactus is pretty much one of the cooler things you'll see. It was also, what was the other trailer you want to talk about, Raven?
28 years or 28
years
months?
later, yeah. So for folks, I don't know if folks are going to know about this, but 28 years later, the trailer that's coming out, or the movie that's coming out, they have already filmed the sequel. So we're going to get 28 years later, and then we're going to get another movie in January called 20 Years Later. I think it's The Bone Den or something, like The Bone Church or something. And so that movie's already fucking
28
done.
months after 28 years later.
Yeah, well, that movie's already done. Like, they've been working on 28 Days Later sequels for about 2 years now. So, like, they're going to have two movies right on top of each other and not even bat like an eye about it. So, yeah, the new trailer is very scary. It's got a very scary looking Ray Fiennes in it. The first portion of the trailer is basically a group of soldiers just dropped into a room that's filled with infected, and then the last part of the trailer is basically a priest welcoming a flock of the zombies.
Seagulls?
Not a flock of seagulls. But just that
I'm not ready.
the movie.
I knew Jerry would do that.
I
knew if I set him up.
I try to set people up. I try to help and stay out of the way when it's not my gig. But they've already filmed the next one as well, so it's going to be a quick turnaround for this particular franchise. And Jack O'Connell, actually, who played the vampire in Sinners, is in the new 28 Days Later as well. He's going to have a very good year, apparently. So, I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about summer movies. The I Know What You Did Last Summer trailer also came out today, which was
28 minutes later.
Well, I Know What You Did Last Summer is I don't know if we need, but it ties to the original. Like, it's got Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah,
Got,
I didn't get into
Jennifer Love huge tits.
Well, yeah, but
that was like an answer to Scream, that movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I know
all of those
I know
started coming out around that time.
Legend are the two.
Final Destination.
Well, yeah,
they started coming out around that time.
Yeah, but I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend are straight slasher movies that are not. The idea that we're gonna have, like, the funny thing in the trailer is Jennifer Love Hewitt saying, "So what did you do last summer?" Like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? Also, there's a moment where where Freddie Prinze runs into the room and says, "This has happened before, damn it!" And it's like, okay, it's just a weird. I don't know. I feel like it's a weird legacy trailer where you're like, all the kids are going to get killed apparently, but it's also like, I don't feel that they were like super high quality, right? I know what you did last summer; they were okay, and also the answer to the trivia question, the sequel. I still know what you did last summer is the answer to the trivia question of what movie did JW and his wife see on their first date. So that is the only reason it is moderately important to me in any way. But the sequel was so bad, like it was just anyway. I don't know. Fantastic Four looks great. Raven. 28 Days Later looks great. When you see the weapons trailer, you'll get an idea. It's eerie. It's just a very eerie trailer. And the guy, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I watch a horror film like Barbarian, that movie had me hooked. And I like that it went all the way. Like it didn't stop. It just kind of started out as one thing and then became something totally different. Which I think is the new norm for horror films. You can't just go in and just have everything kind of lined up. It has to have like something bigger going on first, and then it can move and expand out. What else?
Are there any other trailers for maybe
No.
a show tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or maybe a picture that's like a trailer?
No,
No?
we'll get to that.
Okay.
There was some Superman stuff released for Superman Day. There was a 15-minute behind the scenes video that gave away some pictures of things that we've never seen before up close, like this guy right here, Metamorpho, which super cool character. Hope they pull it off. It's with the guy from Barry. And then they also have pre-orders for toys, which I like. I like toys. So that is the kaiju that Superman fights. I'm looking forward to an Apple TV movie, Fountain of Youth. Yeah, that is an interesting trailer. I saw that as well. It's got an Indiana Jones vibe with John Krasinski. I did like that trailer. It's not a bad trailer. I'm going to give credit to Ken as well. Ken puts up a lot of stuff he's one of our very best members in the Loud Nerdy group.
Absolutely.
He won't come on the show. I've invited him on the show. He won't come on the show. But he is one of our very best members of the Loud Nerdy Nation. And he puts up trailers all the time. Fountain of Youth looks good. It's not getting a theatrical release. I always kind of like look at like even movies I'm excited about that are streaming. I want them to get a theatrical release just because I don't know, play a week in a theater at least. Give me a chance to see it on a big screen. Fountain of Youth looks good.
Well, some movies that are released right to the streaming services should be in the movies, and some that are in the movies shouldn't be there at all.
That's a very true statement.
It's all who you know, I guess.
G20 was pretty good. I talked about that last week. G20 was pretty good.
I watched it. It was okay.
It's a pretty good Air Force One clone.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. There was a couple corny parts, but it was okay on the whole.
He was good, and he was a good villain. That's like things got a little out of hand for sure, but what do you want? We had an entire. You realize the greatest movie of this particular genre had a guy running around with no shoes on.
Yeah, and it's basically what it was, right? Kind of. It's similar to that in
Everything
ways.
wants to be Die Hard. Everything wants to be Die Hard, and that's okay. That's a lot to be. It should be in theaters. I don't know if it is. Hold on.
And then Statham running around like Liam Neeson.
I told you how I feel about the Statham thing. It's become like
the working man is the beekeeper with a different job. It's a construction worker in this one.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's it's become a very lazy period. It's just him and one director, making
One Direction.
no one director. David Ayers is the director we're working with. And it just seems they're lazy. Like, don't get me wrong.
Well, there's a place for those movies, but
Sure, I no, I
I
don't.
mean, I thought Taken
I
was pretty good, but then when he's at the one, throw a grenade, and he counts the seconds, count how many seconds it takes for you to hear the sound. I know exactly where you are. Come on, dude.
28 years later sequel. I found this. And we'll move on to other things as we're progressing out. That comes out January 16th, 2026, which it's called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So it's written by Alex Garland. It was shot back to back with 28 Years Later, and it will be the 4th overall film in the 28 Days Later franchise. But that comes out in January, which again is interesting because what do we say? Didn't I have a long discussion about movies get released wherever they want to get released now? You know what I mean? Like, I would assume that after 28 Years Later hits this summer that they might move it, but we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's appearing on April Fountain of Youth. It's directed by Guy Ritchie, John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Stanley Tucci, Domhnall Gleeson. Premiere April 23rd, May 23rd on Apple TV. So we will not get it in theaters. That will not be released. Sad but true. Yep. So previews coming up. We got okay. Let's go to It Came from Jerry's Basement. This is a good place to get because then we can talk about the other things that are coming out this week at the theaters, and then we can also talk about what's coming up on the network this week, and then also we can talk about the Twilight. Jerry, what's coming from your basement today, my friend?
This week's movie is Hitchhike with
Hitchhike.
Frank Nero and David Hess.
Here's another picture if you want to. It's directed by Pasquale Festa Campanile. It is an Italian movie. It was made in 79, 77. It has several titles. It is called Auto Stop Rosa Sangue, which is Blood Red Hitchhiking. It's also been known as Death Drive and The Naked Prey. Jerry, what is this movie about, and where can people find it?
This is on YouTube. David Hess steals money, him and two other guys, and he gets away from his partners. He basically double crosses them, kidnaps these two folks, takes them on a joyride. His buddies catch up with him, and the plot just keeps twisting from there.
So, this is an interesting thing. When we were younger, hitchhikers were never good, Jerry. Right? You don't pick up the hitchhikers.
That's right.
And in film, hitchhikers are not good people. Like
hardly ever.
They're never good. The hitchhikers are always terrible.
Don't ever pick up Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, don't fucking pick up Rutger Hauer because that shit will not end well for if you're C. Thomas Howell.
That's like the best case. That's the best hitchhiker movie.
Well, that one because it's just fucking it's balls to the wall. That movie is,
and he's him, and he plays that role perfectly.
Yeah, he's dangerous and scary, and just like in a lot of the stuff he was in, right? He's dangerous and scary in Nighthawk. Dangerous and scary in Blade.
Second, he was good in that. Blind Fury.
Dangerous and scary in Blind Fury.
Surviving the Game.
Dangerous and scary in The Blood of Heroes. That is such a great underrated movie.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
But so this movie has a lot of titles, right? This Hitchhike, and it's
Yep.
basically it's a film based on a novel. You know, but it says at the beginning it's based on a novel, but the novel doesn't exist.
And
So
David Hess was
there's a
very good
story.
at playing a ruthless bad guy
Yes,
himself.
and it's just a
Last
cool.
House on the Left, House at the Edge of the Park. This, like, the
It's a,
guy's just
yeah.
good at playing that role.
He was designed to play a heavy. You know what
A
I mean?
scumbag,
Scumbag heavy.
basically.
Um. So what else? I do want to talk about one other show before we get to Twilight Zone, and we're not going to talk about it in detail, but I wanna make sure that people know we're watching it. I don't know if everybody is watching it on the show, but I'm watching it, so I'm keeping abreast. Now, I have not played the games. I wanna make that abundantly clear that I have not played the games, but this show is quickly becoming the greatest video game adaptation ever. It's really good. And this past week was, I guess they built in something that people knew was coming if you played the game, but people weren't prepared for it. And then it happened, and it was brutal. And, it had a really great kind of epic, uh, lots of infected. The Hitchhiker TV show was good. That was a good show as well.
Great
And
TV show.
a great,
I have that here too, Joe.
a
DVD
great
collection.
anthology show on HBO that is not on Max. That's another weird one. It's like Dream On, First and
Oh,
10,
I want to get those.
First and 10, Dream On, The Hitchhiker, early HBO show, Arliss, you can't find anywhere. But I'm watching Last of Us now. We'll talk about it more as the season progresses. But this past week was a pretty great episode.
Dumb question, but is that the name of the game too?
Yeah, the name there's Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, and it's not if you get into it, I think you'll like it. But it's not. They're not zombies. It's not a zombie show. They're basically what it is the entire worldwide food supply gets infected with a spore of a mushroom that basically takes fungal control of the host. So basically people start becoming plants. So the infected are like,
Day of the Triffids
little Day of the not plants
or
like
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of.
well, no, you can definitely tell what they look like. Like there's no question about what they are, but it's more like what's the great version of it's they're all connected. So it's even like the farthest outreach of infected in the show are connected to whatever the hive the central hive is. So it's continually it's evolving. So like season 2 now, the infected are more like they're starting to become able to trick and deceive. There's a whole sequence where it's in the snow. The second season's in the snow, and basically all the there was a sea of dead infected that people were walking through, but they were all dead. Everything was like, this is cool. And then basically what happened was that all the infected on top were essentially shielding the infected that were underneath. So it just became this sea of people rising out of the snow. It was pretty fucking badass, like just badass. And they have like there are bigger, like more muscular versions of whatever the fucking main plant fungus is. That kind of just it busts shit, and it has all kinds of video gaming things, but it also the show is doing a really good job of making it work. And I would be remiss not to talk about the fact that there was a viral moment on this week's episode where everybody the entire fucking world was in hysterics afterwards. Like, because something that happened in the game that I guess everybody knew happened in the game happened way earlier in the show. And basically the guys who ran the show was like, it had to happen now. Like we couldn't have it sitting out there with people going, oh well, you know, when this happens. He's like, so we ripped the Band-Aid off. And you know, it's pretty cool. Pedro Pascal plays a guy who kind of like he knows how to work around things. He's a survivor, and he finds a girl that they want to transport from one version in the first season, one area of the country to the other area of the country, and it turns out she has a natural immunity to the infection. So when they get there, they basically say, "Thank you for delivering her," and now we're gonna basically we're gonna alpha her. We're gonna throw her on a table and just kind of scrape her apart and see what exactly why she has no infection. And he basically, you know, made the decision that's not gonna happen. That's you know, because he's traveling with her and became like his daughter. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a really good show. But this past Sunday was a lot of cool shit going on, and just Band-Aid came off, I guess. Okay, speaking of Band-Aids coming off, this is one for Kyle. It's time for Twilight Zone Redux. You've now crossed over into the Twilight Zone. The episode tonight, kids, is an episode titled The Odyssey of Flight 33. You can see that right here. And basically it's a cool episode, and also, Jerry, I would argue one of the more depressing endings of any Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah,
ever.
right.
So it is episode 18 of season 2. It premiered on February 24th, 1961. And the opening narration goes something like this. You're riding on a jet airliner en route from London to New York. You're at 35,000 feet atop an overcast and roughly 55 minutes from Idlewild Airport. But what you've seen occur inside the cockpit of this plane is no reflection of the aircraft or the crew. It's a safe, well-engineered, perfectly designed machine, and the men you've just met are trained, cool, highly efficient team. The problem is simply that the plane is going too fast, and there's nothing within the team realm of knowledge, or at least logic, to explain it. Unbeknownst to passenger and crew, the airplane is heading into an uncharted region, well off the beaten track of commercial travelers, moving into the Twilight Zone. What you're about to see we call the Odyssey of Flight 33. So a couple things. This occurs way later in this episode than most episodes, right? The opening narration occurs after there's a general like we don't what the fuck is going on in the cockpit.
Right.
And it's really cool because what happens is a stewardess goes in to see what time we're getting to New York. She comes out and fucking Rod Serling walks into the fucking frame as she's walking down, and he just kind of sits on the edge of the near the front of the plane, and he just starts doing the narration. So it's a unique way of doing it. He wrote the episode. Basically, what happens, in no uncertain terms, is they hit a couple of pockets that force them to go faster than at the time speed of sound. And as it starts progressing, like the pilot notices all kinds of change with he feels like he's moving faster. As that occurs, the plane hits a bump, hits some turbulence, and then they have no communication with the outside world. They start slowing down, and as they start slowing down, they start looking out the windows trying to
They
find
see
things.
Manhattan.
They see
and the guy goes, "Where's the buildings at? Where are the skyscrapers?
Where's the city and the 8 million people?" Which is a great fucking bit. That is as great a bit as you can ever get. Like, where
and then they go, "Look,"
and they look out the window. They look out the window. They see a dinosaur. Like,
yeah, they see a brontosaurus.
So then the pilot gets the brilliant idea. We're gonna recreate this. We're gonna We're gonna
We're
recreate
gonna
it.
turn around and go back.
We're gonna turn around and go back and try to hit the speed bump. So they hit the speed bump. They go back. They start looking out the window. They get a communication where they use a primitive version of the FAA that the pilot immediately recognizes. They look out the window, and it's the 1939 World Fair.
You're like, we're in a jet. What's a jet?
What's a jet? Also, but the pilot immediately recognizes it, and basically he's
Yeah,
like,
it was the fair.
We're in 1939, and eventually he has to tell the entire plane that we're lost in time. We're gonna try to get back, but we don't know if we can. And I was looking at the ticker on the time, right, Jerry? And you're looking and you're like, there's only 2 minutes left in this episode.
Yeah.
And so the captain attempts one more ascent before the fuel runs out, and he's trying to return to 1961. And his last words are, "All I ask of you is that you remain calm and pray." And then it immediately goes as the closing narration. A global jetliner en route from London to England, London to New York on an uneventful afternoon in the year 1961, but now reported overdue and missing, and by now searched for on land, sea, and air by anguished human beings fearful of what they'll find. But you and I know where she is. You and I know what's happened. So some moment, any moment, you hear the sound of jet engines flying atop the overcast, engines that sound searching and lost, engines that sound desperate. Shoot up a flare or do something. That would be Global 33 trying to get home from the Twilight Zone. And that's where the episode ends, Jerry.
That's a cool narration, right?
It's a great narration, and the episode ends with them fucking trapped in the Twilight Zone. It's not something where, like, most of these episodes, Jerry,
there's no finality to it.
This one has no finality at all, and the finality is basically, this is the most fucked bunch of humans ever on the Twilight Zone.
Right? Families are praying.
This is a whole bunch of people stuck. The pilot's great. Everybody's great. Like, the acting is really good in this episode. John Anderson plays the captain, but it's just the most depressing episode of the Twilight Zone, because they either crash or they never make it back to 1961, which is phenomenal. It's like the first time you see a horror movie where it's a bad ending,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty incredible.
It kind of reminded me of the Final Countdown.
Final Countdown,
a little bit, right?
That great Kirk Douglas movie about the Nimitz going back in time. But it's the finality of it is that there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's not
right.
They weren't trying to go back in time. It just, they hit a pocket of the Twilight Zone.
It happened, and now you're stuck.
And it's very dark. We've had 2 dark things with planes in a row. And I wonder if there's something to it. Now, interesting stuff about this. Basically, they developed the idea for Serling came up with it because American Airlines had a mock-up of a 707 interior that they could use that they loaned to the production company making the Twilight Zone. And his brother was somebody who was an aviation writer. So he was, he helped him write all the dialogue in the cockpit. And just they basically discussed how an airline pilot would react. They talked to a TWA pilot. The Brontosaurus model that they see in the jungle, the miniature, is from the 1960 film Dinosaurus, where they use stop motion animation.
I like how it looks up at them too. Like,
it's hilarious. And then this is a really interesting thing, but this is one of the few Twilight Zone episodes that was eventually made into a graphic novel and a comic book. They adapted a lot of them into graphic novels later as it progressed and it got to the 80s. And this one expands upon the television episode, including subplots with passengers, flight crew. They update the story to 1973, and they jump to the future in the comic book. So this particular episode did all kinds of cool stuff after the fact. And then next week we get the preview for next week is we get one of the all-time classic episodes,
Burgess Meredith
returns, and it is an episode called Mr. Dingle the Strong, one of the very best episodes of the Twilight Zone. So we will be back with that next week. Mr. Dingle the Strong, episode 19, season 2. Coming up this week in theaters, we already talked about Andor on television, but this week in theaters, The Accountant Part 2. We saw a trailer for it in front of Sinners, and everybody's like, that's coming out next week? Like, we didn't even know it was coming out next week, but the trailer is pretty good. It's, Ben Affleck and John Barenthal has been added. Yeah, the different computer is great. It is a little bit hot, Joe. The mic is a little bit hot, but I moved him down a little bit. So we're working on it.
No, maybe because I'm used to talking loud.
Yeah, you don't need to talk loud anymore.
Right on.
So The Accountant Part 2 opens on Friday. Also, for Star Wars fans and Popcorn Bucket fans, 20th anniversary of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith for 1 week. 20th anniversary of the last of the prequel films. Lots of popcorn buckets, lots of drink cups coming out next week. AMC has a Vader popcorn bucket that may or may not be on this wall the next time you see us. And then also coming up on our network this week, Gabe is back with Aramis Sartorio. Episode will be April 23rd. It'll be tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, I believe, for Symbolistic Cynicism. Stop.
It's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, Gabe has incredible guests, and they're all unique and interesting. Is the best way to say it. What about you? What do you got going on, Jerry? What's going on for you?
Friday night, we're playing at Dingbats in New Jersey. Clifton, New Jersey.
Clifton, New Jersey, Dingbat Slapjaw. You also had that new Slapjaw song that's out and about. Anywhere you can find. Where can people find that music?
Everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube.
So Slapjaw.
Everywhere where there's music streaming, you should be able to find us.
You will find Slapjaw. Kyle Defina, what you got going on, my friend?
Still just May 17th in Matamoros and flagship for some Rocky Horror, and then I think it's June in the Emmaus Theater at Rocky Horror.
It's always good to get
and in local September.
And local in September, correct?
The Ritz in Scranton in September.
Ritz and Scranton in September. We'll keep on talking about that. We'll keep everybody up to date on that. You can find me, JW the Movie Guy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all these different places. As transitioning to mainstream acting. Oh yeah, no worries. I wasn't. I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, he's gonna do. Yeah, everything's fine. You can also find me most Monday nights, but not next Monday night, because Rich is going to see a movie with an asterisk in the title. So we will not be doing it next Monday, but the following Monday we will be getting back. We just did this last night. We did Mission Impossible last night, which, if you haven't watched them in a while, the original really holds up. And then we'll be doing the rest of them as we lead into Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, coming out May 2025.
I didn't realize there were even that many of them. Holy moly!
Yeah, well, and Rich brought
Talk
it
about
up
losing track of time.
Well, you want the best part, Jerry? If you had talked about this franchise, if you had said Tom Cruise is going to have a franchise, 29 years between the first movie and the last movie. You know, and Rich brought it up last night. The first three movies, you know, Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3, three different directors, three different kind of vibes. But right around Ghost Protocol, down the bottom there, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, Dead Reckoning, they're all Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise bringing the character forward. And so it's like two separate franchises within one. And the latest batch of movies have been great. They've been spectacular, well done, huge, excellent critics responses, big box office. Although the last one kind of like it was in the middle of Oppenheimer and Barbie and kind of got smushed. But there's big buzz about the last one that's coming out, The Final Reckoning. Everybody's buzzing about the special effects, the stunts. And I was talking about this last night. I think the stunt in Mission Impossible 1 with the fish tanks is where he got the buzz. Because basically Brian De Palma went to him and said, hey, this doesn't look good with a stunt double. You need to do this. And they failed to mention to Tom Cruise that he could have drowned. The stunt where he puts the gum on the wall and basically the entire like fish place explodes and there's lobster and fish and everywhere. And you can actually see Tom Cruise running out of the restaurant, jumping over the waves, right? I think it's where he got the buzz to just do it all the time. And I also think it's
if Jackie Chan could do it, I could do it too.
I can do it too. Yes, that's exactly right. And we'll of course be back next week for Loud and Nerdy on a Tuesday night. Thank you for joining us tonight, folks. We appreciate you guys. Look for the clips and short stuff in all the places that you find Loud and Nerdy. And if you like our content, if you love the show, if you love listening to us on a Tuesday, like and subscribe. It takes less than 3 minutes to like and subscribe everywhere. You can do that for us. It helps us out. It helps the show. It helps the network. Helps all the shows on the network. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.